I had this idea I wanted to teach you about. So you've heard of fuck you money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I realized that I think there's 3 levels to saying fuck you. So the first one is fuck you money, which is you're not really that beholden to an employer. You maybe kind of can own things in a way that makes you not have to adhere to laws in the same sort of a way.
Yeah.
There's fuck you freedom, which is actually more accessible than fuck you money, because you can just like, if you've got enough, you can live off grid. Maybe you don't even need to be reliant on supermarkets.
Yeah.
You don't need to really like listen to laws if you've got a little bit of land or
Yeah.
whatever. But then the third level is fuck you family. And I think a lot of the time people are playing these games. They want to be requited and validated, external success and all the rest of it. But I get the sense, and I see this with you and a lot of my friends that become young dads, that they kind of look back on a lot of the ways that they got validation and self-esteem as like real juvenile, very immature.
Yeah.
Like, look at all of these people who I don't know, who I don't give a fuck about, and I cared about their opinions about me.
Yeah.
And really, the only people whose opinions I care about are the ones that are inside of this household.
Yeah.
And that fuck you family thing is the most accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a transition that, you know, if you're a high-powered person, like man or woman, and then you pivot into family life, I wonder how many have like a retrospective existential crisis about like, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah.
Who was I?
Yeah.
I did all of that and okay, yeah, cool. Like I just didn't know, but holy shit, like that my eyes have been opened and I see what the actual game that I was playing.
Bro, it is so cliche. So much about having children is cliche, but like the hardest day, the most stressful day, the most difficult day, when I open the door and I get back at 6 o'clock every day. My daughter is in the playpen, usually with my wife, and she hears the door open and like she slowly turns around, and then I watch her face crease into this beautiful like 6-toothed smile, and nothing matters at all. It's so cliche. It's actually difficult as a comedian who like tries to have like unique takes on things, how normal my reactions to having a child is, right? Like, but it is just nothing really matters in that moment. And then for the next, we're getting after it for the next hour. We're just getting, nothing matters. And you're 100% right. That is like, fuck you family. Now you need things to get there because you feel obviously like a responsibility to make sure she's safe and she can go to the school she wants and we can live in a nice place and experience these cool things. But yeah, I love that. I love that.
I saw this quote earlier on today that said, it's not okay to work your life away, but it is okay to work your 20s away. And
yo, I like this. Keep going on this because time is something that we should discuss.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, I said for me, and I just want to like re-highlight the fact that I think the new special from you is probably the most culturally penetrative explanation of male fertility issues that I've seen.
Thank you.
You know, you said before, we always assume that the problem's the woman.
Yeah.
And we have lots of stories about that. We have archetypes, right?
Yeah.
Of the struggling woman, whether it's struggling to find a partner and the biological clock is ticking, or trying to get pregnant, you know, going through the IVF and the pain of the process, and then the pain of it not taking, and, you know, all of the stuff that you can learn about if you spend a bit of time on this. And we don't have a cultural story about what it's like to be a man who is really desperate to be a dad but can't find a partner, or has a partner and is trying to be a dad and has fertility issues. And that doesn't exist. And time for both men and women, even more than that, like I think about this now. So I'm 37, right? Like let's say that I managed to make the family in 3 years. Let's say I have my first kid when I'm 40. Like I'll be 65 when my first kid's 25. Kids weren't on my brain at 25. Okay, so I'm 75 when my kids are 35. So I'm going to be like 77 when my kids are my age. I'm like, chop chop, I want to be a granddad. It's like, well, you didn't fucking give your parents that same, like, where was the chop chop when you were doing this thing? So
I didn't meet any of my grandparents. I mean, I met like when I was like 1 or something like that, one of them, I think. But yeah, that happens. And that is the cost. Time. The first thought I had when I saw my daughter is that I wish I did it sooner so I would have more time with her. And that's the first thought I saw when I saw her. Like, I was like, what did I do? Now, I'm not regretful of my life. I love how it turned out, and I met the woman that I want to create a family and have a life with. But yeah, you think about it constantly. Time. I always heard people talk about it, and you see, I mean, it's cliche, but time. Like, how do we get time? I don't buy expensive shit really. Like, I think when I first got money, I got some like watches or whatever. I think it was this like form of validating myself. I think it was this like outside in. It was like, yeah, I've achieved some success. Let me get a fucking watch. And like I retrofitted this justification. I was like, oh, the gears are so nice. It's like, come on, stop. It's not about that. But like time, everything I'll spend it's like a trip. But the trip is soaking up this undivided time with family and friends. Everything is, how can I spend time with my family? I'm lucky I work with all my friends. My guy who does all my partnerships I've known since I was 13 years old, is my first friend in high school. My manager, who's just my partner, is my first friend from college. Everybody is family in the group, so I'm very lucky in that regard. But how do we spend time? What do we do? And like, even I'm going to do press for this. And I'm like, okay, you gotta go and you gotta get the word out. Okay, that's gonna be probably a month of going to get the word out, you know? Okay, that's time away. How can I get that back? Can I take a month off in summer and just lock in? How do I spend everything I've ever heard from parents is it goes fast. Old people talk about time in the way that young people talk about success and money. Old people don't really talk about success. And when they do, it's like, it's kind of weird. Like, they're not like, oh, I killed it in the market today or something like that. You're just like, oh, is that what you're excited about? Nvidia went up. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, oh, I'm taking a trip with your mom and we're going to her favorite place, you know, and like everything is this reminder of time. You know, my wife's mom has a, disease. This is slowly killing her. It's this reminder of time. My dad has dementia, this reminder of time. And it's fleeting, and like the memories that I'll have with my dad exist forever, but we'll never make new memories together, you know? And it's like, this is time. Like, how much time do I have with him? How many actual days do I have with him? And yeah, I haven't fully processed like the importance of that, but yeah, it's just this amazing. Yeah, as I reflect back, like I think I have lived a life where I was able to soak up things with my friends, but like I worked, I don't think I've ever not worked 7 days, but like my 20s, I didn't celebrate a birthday. Like, I was just doing comedy on the road for no money. Like, anybody would let me go on stage so I get better at the craft. Like, I still had fun. I had good time with my friend, but I wasn't like partying like some of my friends were. Like, I would say when I was like on TV, I was like, my friends have way better sex lives. These guys are on fucking Tinder doing like, you know, having fivesomes and shit. And I'm just like trying to write jokes. And it was that decade was sacrifice. You know, I didn't drink for like 10 years. I was like, I need to lock in. I got to get good at this shit. But yeah, how can I'm fortunate enough to like get a couple bucks and like have a family at 41 years old. All right, maybe we want to have another kid. How can I organize the rest of my life so that I can just spend time, so I can go out to have a dinner with my wife and we're just fucking joking around and like looking at silly pictures of our daughter and busting balls? Just how do we have as many of those moments as I possibly can for the rest of my life? How many times can I like die laughing with my friends? Like, every once in a while you hit that moment where something stupid happens and like we are just on the floor laughing. Can I have 100 more of those? Can I have 1,000 more of those? How can I organize my life so I can have as many of those as I possibly can? And how can I not waste time with people I don't really care about? I think it goes back to what you're saying. It's like, am I going to waste time on trying to deal with like what this person on the internet is saying? Or should I, you know, just read the same book to my daughter 20 times in a row? And like, I should do that, you know? Yeah, time, time.
Everything that you say yes to is saying no to everything else.
Yeah.
So by committing to the argument on Twitter, that's a yes.
Yeah.
And you have said no to every other experience that could be possible at that moment.
And you're ignoring all the people that are supporting you. You're ignoring all the people that are riding for you. You're ignoring all the people like...
To focus on the people that hate you.
I could message back, like the amount of people that send me like DMs about coming to the show having no clue that it was about the IVF journey, and they're like struggling to get pregnant, and then they'll message me a year later and be like, hey, we just had our first kid, and like... It was really cool to see that, and it made it a little more normal for us. Or the people who went through it and felt stigmatized, and then they realized it's like actually something you can kind of laugh at. I should be, and I try to respond to every one of those before I respond to a single person reacting to some fake shit about me on the internet.
They should be the bottom of the barrel.
They are.